Hi there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Today we are going to be using this Nina 100-pound craft coloured cardstock. But kind of first, before we get to all of that, I am going to be cutting out these flowers here. These are some of my favourite flowers. I have lots of videos that I've used these in. And this little trio of flowers comes with the 2 leaf dies here, but I'm actually going to use this leaf die on the left. I also have this paint sample here. This is just like a yellow. I was doing my daughter's room with some paint, and so I really liked that shade of yellow, so I thought I may as well use it up. And I'm going to use a scrap of green cardstock for the leaves. Now I'm going to cut them all out because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with the leaves, but I end up using just that top one there. Okay, so moving back to creating the card, I have my 2 die cuts here from the die that I showed earlier, and I'm just cutting off each side flap. I'm going to leave the one at the bottom because I will end up using that, but I don't need these 2, so I'm going to cut them off and just ignore the other little base piece that I have there because I'm going to use a different piece once I figure it all out. Here I have some Hero Arts 48-pound vellum. This is like kind of a heavier vellum, and I'm going to back the back of these pieces. I don't want them to be see-through because I want to be able to write in the card without it showing through the front, and so I am just going to add a vellum layer to kind of help. So what I seem to be doing recently is when I have something kind of delicate or intricate to glue, I just put out a little bit of liquid glue and use a makeup sponge. I buy my makeup sponges off AliExpress. You may not because they may be cheaper wherever you are, but for me to buy this kind of makeup sponge, it's cheaper for me to buy them off Ali, so I will link that down below. When I'm adhering this to the vellum, I don't want that bottom flap to have any vellum on it. I want that to be clear, so I've kind of hung that bottom bit off the edge here, and then I'm just going to fussy cut the excess vellum off these, just so that they're nice and finished and follow the same cut as the original die cut. But anyway, actually this die cut is from AliExpress as well, and I will try and link that down below if I can still find it. Now when I turn this over, you can kind of still see some of the wet glue shining through there, but once this dries, you won't be able to see that at all, so don't worry about that. I'm just going to crease those bottom parts here, and I have these 2, I've cut out 2 of exactly the same squares, so they measure 4 5/8 by 4 5/8, because that is the length of the back of that die cut that I have, and I'm just adding a little bit of double-sided adhesive to those 2 flaps, and I am going to kind of hopefully by seeing this you'll get it, because I know I won't do a good job of explaining it, but I just kind of line them up and then pull the flap back over the back side of what will be the back side of the card, and do exactly the same on this side. And now the only reason that I have cut 2 of these is so that I can cover up those 2 flaps. If you feel like you don't need to do that, that's okay too. You don't need to do it, but just for the sake of being tidy and keeping the card looking really nice, I want to cover up those flaps at the back there. So what I do is I just want to add 4 bits of tape around the outside and 1 little one in the middle. This is my trick for always getting things nice and straight when I need them to be straight. And so I just pull a little corner off each one and kind of fold it to the side so it creates a little tab or a little handle for me. And then once I've got that done to all 4 of them, I can line it up really nicely. As I said, I took the middle one right off, so there's that little bit in the middle, and then once it's perfectly lined up, I just press my thumb in the middle so it sticks that bit, and then pull out the 4 little tabs from the outside, and then kind of give it a little press all round, and it's all stuck down nice and even. So that's kind of the base of the card created. And now I have the flowers that I cut out earlier from the yellow paint sample, and I can see through the vellum too much for my liking with the yellow flower. I didn't like how well you can see through, but when I tried the green, you couldn't really see through at all. So, change of plan, I'm actually going to end up creating a craft coloured flower, which obviously isn't quite as bright as I was hoping for, but I still really like the look of it. And I'm actually just rolling up a little bit of double-sided tape purely because this is what was right beside me. You could use liquid glue or glue dots or anything. and this will create the new flower that I will use for the inside of my card, just to decorate it just a little bit, to give it a little bit of something. So as I said, just adding some double-sided tape to this, and then we're pretty good to go. I'm not going to fluff up the petals or anything because I want it to lie quite flat. But yeah, anyhow, so that looks good, and I keep checking, I keep closing the flaps to make sure that it doesn't peek through that tiny wee bit in the middle, and then doing exactly the same trick where I adhere them down with some liquid glue. And again, obviously I want more flat because it's going to be on the inside of the card. That would make sense. You wouldn't want foam dots in the middle of the card. And just using some liquid glue for the big flower to adhere that down as well. So that's almost the card finished. There's just one last thing that I need to do. And I have this kind of burlap ribbon, twine, whatever you'd like to call it here. And this will create a belly band for the card. So first of all, it just happens that this tape, this double-sided tape, is pretty much exactly the right width, and I'm actually going to add a strip of liquid glue as well so that I know it won't come apart. So the double-sided tape kind of holds it down initially, and then the liquid glue kind of ensures that it won't come apart at any time. So I've adhered it down to a piece of craft cardstock, just the same that I made the card base from, just to make it nice and strong. And then I'm just going to bend the ends around the card and then kind of reinforce those folds. You don't want it to be too tight because you want to be able to take it off and on easily. You don't want someone to struggle to have to take it on and off, but you don't want it to be too loose that it's going to fall off on its own as well. So again, I'm just going to add some double-sided tape and then a little bit of liquid glue as well, as I said, just to make sure that nothing happens to it. And that's my card for today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope it gave you some inspiration for your own card making. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!